Hey everyone, warm welcome to another presentation of a roundtable meeting. And it's been quite a while since I've been sharing a topic that has been discussed at my roundtable. And yeah, reason being I just didn't have any time. So there had been quite some months where there has not been any meeting. Since a few months, the meetings are taking place, but I have not been able to do a recording of the presentation and share it with the public. But actually today I have a little bit of spare time, and I think this topic might be quite interesting for you. So the topic is creations of the I-Magi-Nation. Yeah. So I'm going into a screen sharing mode and start the presentation that I created for those meetings that I am hosting once a month. And it is called the Roundtable of Tribal Wisdom because it's not me who is the host, it's the people coming together on the round table. Everybody is bringing something to the table, and it's awesome, those meetings. So, and here in the public, I just share some interesting triggers or some interesting thoughts. So you can go on your own journey and dig within yourself and find the wisdom that you carry. Yeah. So the topic of creation is a juicy one in itself. And imagination and creation, they go hand in hand. And yeah, the I, who's the I? Who's the I speaking? The personality that we carry. And it's about magic, the magic of creation, and it's also about forming groups, yeah, nations. So stay tuned. Yeah. We are meeting every third Saturday in a month. Normally, sometimes we have to change the date for some reasons. And the way we are meeting is that everybody's coming to the table is seen as an unlimited and free being, and therefore treated with love, honor, and respect. And I always share this with the public also as an inspiration, because the way groups have been created in the past is very often hierarchical and abusive. And the way we are treating each other and ourselves is very often not with love, honor, and respect. And it's just an inspiration. So the first thing is what we imagine being true creates reality. There is no such thing as an objective reality when it comes to the human experience, because we are perceiving reality through the filters. For example, we cannot smell or see in the same way like other other beings, like a dog or a cat or a spider or whatever being is seeing this reality. So there is no such thing as an objective reality, because two people experiencing the same situation have a total different experience just because of their own imprints in this lifetime. And of course, we all are having experiences in a special way just because we are in this body. Being a human in this time is already changing our perception from being, a cat or a dog or living in the 17th century. Our perception would be quite different. So, as we are creative beings, we are creating our perception of reality. And this also has an influence on people around us, as our perception is contagious, so to speak, also. So it's really important to be aware of the story in our brain, the story that we believe. Belief is so important. What we accept as being real, when fueled with emotion, creates our reality. If you think your neighbor totally dislikes you, and therefore you are reacting with your emotions towards this story, you will behave in a total different way. Your energy will emanate in a total different way. And your neighbor will react to that. You will have a total different interpretation of the actions of your neighbor if you have a different story in your mind. If you think your neighbor is in love with you, you will see everything this neighbor does with total different eyes than if you think your neighbor hates you. And therefore, your emanation and also your behavior will be totally different. So, you can start to play a little bit with this, because don't believe me, try it out. It's really interesting. Try it out and change your story. And it's important that what you believe and your emotions, if they are becoming one, your thoughts and your feelings, if they are becoming one, this will then be able to really change your circumstances in life, big time. So, because we are creative and creator beings. This is who we are. This is what is special about humans. And this is what all of those people who are investing deeply into the artificial intelligence, into the technical intelligence, what they will never understand what is so special about the human, because as a human we seem to be so fragile and so imperfect, and we are, but we are also embodying the special creative energies, the spark of being able to create and not just copy like technical intelligence. So the power of the mind and its stories. I think you all have heard a lot of interesting stories about how the story in the mind has changed reality, and that is not just a psychological thing. What I just shared, what you think about your neighbor and then you behave differently. Of course, there is this layer to it, of course, your behavior and how your voice, the tone of your voice, the way you express yourself, your body language, all of this is expressing the story that you carry in your mind. As I said, if you believe your neighbor is in love with you, or if you believe that your neighbor hates you, you will act totally differently. And what is the reality? Your neighbor doesn't even think about you. It's just a story in your mind. So there is this psychological thing. But our stories in our mind, they are having a physical impact. Many of you might have heard about the story that just close your eyes and imagine you are going to the fridge, take out a lemon and open it and think about how it looks like, how it smells, and suddenly you realize you're having a physical experience, although it is just an imagination. And we all know this, we all have been sobbing and laughing and crying when watching the movie. It's not even a real story. And we perceive it as if we are a witness in such a movie, and as if this story would be real. And someone who is dying on the television, that's just an actor in his play, but we might start to sob, and I did that very often in my life, and maybe you did too. And it's just a story in our mind. And still, it has an impact on our psyche and also on our physical being. So, and then there is another example. People have multiple personalities in one person. And I know that this is discussed a lot, if this is even a real thing. There are people who say that's not possible and that's not a real phenomenon. I can tell you, I have seen it with my very eyes. I have seen that. The person who changed as if being possessed or something like that, the voice is changing and the whole posture of the being is changing, and the way the person was speaking was changing, and even the color of the eyes were changing. And I've not been the only person. There's been another witness who saw that also. So it's not that I just made this up. And there are people who have been traumatized a lot and who are experiencing those multiple personalities within themselves. And it is really, there is one body, but it seems they are so fractured in their being that it seems as if they are different people living in one and the same body. And the interesting thing is that they might have totally different skills. One might speak a foreign language, or one might be able to play the piano and the other doesn't. That's really interesting. Or some are, a personality might have an ailment that the other personality doesn't have, and they might be highly allergic and the other just isn't. And you can't explain this with someone who is just making this up. So I've really seen that an identity can change the whole body system within a split second. And yeah, normally it's the result of trauma, because this is fracturing the personality. we all have a personality, and we have different, well, ways of expressing ourselves, and we are all kind of fractured a little bit, but normally this is still one person who's sometimes angry, sometimes sad, sometimes feels a little bit childlike, sometimes is a little bit of a bully, but it is still there. You are normally, if you're not really traumatized and having these multiple personality disorder, they've given it a different name now, but I think the old one was actually quite accurate. If you are not suffering from this disorder, you are aware it is still you, or you still have the feeling it is you who is sometimes a bully or is sometimes a little bit childish. It is still the same person. And those people who have these multiple personality within themselves, they might not be aware one personality what the other is doing. It is as if different persons are living in the same body, but it's just an over exaggeration of what we all experience, being sometimes, yeah, as I said, a little bit more childish, or sometimes a little bit bully, or sometimes a little bit more shy, or yeah. So I have a story to share. Strawberries. When I was a young mother, I was sitting in the garden of my mother, and I was eating strawberries with my daughter. And we were totally lost in this strawberry orgy. You know, we just enjoyed the sweetness and the juiciness of those strawberries. We totally enjoyed it. And being with a little child, I totally forgot myself and just have been in the present moment, just being in joy and enjoying those strawberries together with my little daughter. The next moment, my mother was coming towards us, and she stared at me and she said, "What are you doing?" I looked at her. I looked at the bowl with strawberries. I looked at my mother and said, "Eating strawberries?" A little bit unsure, you know, if you're a mother, yeah, you're reacting like a little child. Yeah? If your mother is questioning you in this way, "What are you doing?" you feel a little bit unsure. And I was thinking, yeah, isn't this obvious? I'm eating strawberries. And I thought, oh, what is wrong here? And she said, "But you are allergic." And then I remembered, when I was a little child, I wasn't allergic to strawberries. But when I was a little bit older, suddenly I was allergic to strawberries. Don't ask me why. And but in this moment, I had forgotten, and it's not been the first time I have been eating strawberries. So in this moment, there have been two realities. There has been the reality of my mother. I'm allergic to strawberries. I could remember being allergic to strawberries when she told me. And there has been the other reality. The me that enjoyed strawberries, just like my daughter did in this moment. The little me that I have been as a little child that was enjoying strawberries, and now the adult able to choose the reality. So I looked at the strawberries, I looked at my mother, and I said, "No longer," and kept eating strawberries. And I never reacted allergic to strawberries ever since then. Yeah, so it is the story in our mind. We have to accept a story. That's the thing. We have to accept the story. And it has to do with the personality, with the I we believe to be. And the I we believe to be, the person that we believe to be, is highly influenced by the people who are our caretakers in childhood, the people we are in contact with, the culture we are living in, the religious beliefs, the books we are reading, the movies we are watching. All of this is having an impact and it is forming and shaping the personality that we are. This is also the reason for the discussion about the ego, because the ego is, to me, it is the personality that is shaped by society and that is different from the self, which is the personality that is close to who we truly are. And for me, this is making a huge difference coming from the self, but still our soul needs to have a personality to be able to interact in this world and to live in this world. It's not possible to have a human experience without having some personality. Yeah. And if you ever experienced going through a death experience, you might experience losing your persona, your personality, and coming back. I have had such an experience. Coming back, it was, it's a strange experience if you have to reshape your personality. Yeah, interesting experience. Okay, strawberries. So maybe you can become aware of the stories in your mind and become aware that it is actually us who's accepting the stories, and doesn't mean we are able to change it, but yeah, becoming aware of the topic is already the first step to change it. So that's been the personal level. So now, hijacking humanity. Not just on a personal level, but on a collective level. The all-seeing eye and the Magi, who are creating nations. And yeah, as a collective, what are the stories we are being told, and what are we creating coming together as a group? So, and at the moment happening big time, the Great Reset via the mass formation, hypnosis. And if you want to go deeper into the topic of mass formation, I would ask you to look up Dr. Matthias Desmet. And he made some really interesting, he came to some really interesting conclusions. And if you just want to look at it from a scientific point of view, how groups are behaving and how groups and their behavior can be shaped. And what I find really, really interesting, being aware of group dynamics myself a lot, is that people want to belong to a group, especially in times where they feel unsafe and where they feel confused. I think it is kind of instinctual thing to group together. But what I have experienced in small groups also, not just what is happening on a huge, great scale worldwide, but what I have witnessed in groups is people would leave themselves to belong to a group. They would deny reality. They would go against their friends and their family to be part of a group, because this is giving them the feeling of safety and that everything is under control. So they are buying into the story, into the narrative, just to belong to this group that is right and that is in the know. They believe to be part of that group is worth to sacrifice some of their own, something in their own life. It's also worth to sacrifice friendships or family. And this is a sad thing, because in the end, groups that are created in this way, they will never support you. So, and it's not just what it does to our families, to our neighborhoods, to our groups that we are belonging to. It is also what is happening within ourselves, because we have to kind of corrupt ourselves and reject ourselves, the part of us that is actually close to truth and that can really feel what is true. And that's a sad thing. And in the end, the payoff is not worth it, because your group is not really, they are only binding together to feel safe, not because there is real heart-to-heart connection. That's not the case. So the way you're forsaking your brother and your sister, they will forsake you in the same way. And that's a sad thing. So, but the ones who feel entitled to create resets and to lead the nations, they need us to create the envisioned new world order. And people are discussing and fighting over money, politics, government structures, and that's actually not, that is just the result. How our society is structured, how money, politics, and government structures are working is the result. It's not the real issue. The real issue is our hijacked mind that is creating those societal structures and the way we interact with each other. It's our belief systems that are creating this. So yeah, food for thought. And it is really dangerous to allow others to have an influence on our own awareness. And it can be a deadly influence, or it won't when we take ownership. Speaking about magic, there are people who are able to use what most of humanity would describe as magic. Well, one thing is magic isn't what people believe it is. Magic is, it is actually logical, but it is science that people don't know about or haven't thought about deeply enough. The magic has to do with what I just shared, with your ability to create, to be a creator, and to imagine, and to bring together your thoughts and your emotions. And all of the magic spells and all of that, I knew this from little on, and I was right. Because I remembered from other lifetimes. All this hocus pocus is just hocus pocus. It's just to convince yourself that those spells are working, and you have to believe in it to create it. You have to really invest your creative spark into it to make it real. And I know how people tried to really kill me, at least twice in my life. And it would have been deadly if I would have believed in their power, but I didn't. That's why I'm alive. And yeah, it's the same like with the strawberries. Choose what you believe in. Choose what you invest into. And there is no, all of the woo-woo stuff out there. This is just science that you are not aware of. And the magic is within every one of us. And it's time to take back our own power. So, another thing, in hindsight, I was looking back into other incarnations I had, into other timelines I've experienced. And one thing is interesting. There has always been times of, well, dominations by leaders, by religions, and people have always lived under pressure of their societal structure, of the belief systems, of the people who have been in power. But something I found really interesting in hindsight is you would have been able to go under the radar in those times if you would behave on the outside as if you are believing those rules and as if you would believe in the religion. You could still be free on your inside. you could go under the radar. Yeah, you would just do as the others would do in this cultural context. And as long as you wouldn't invest in it and not believe in it, you would still be kind of free. You would still be free on your inside. You would still be free to use your own imagination, to have your own feelings and thoughts, as long as you wouldn't misbehave on the outside. And having your own imagination, your inner freedom, you would still have been able to create on your own terms. And those free beings, those free spirits, they have lived, they have been able to create their own bubble of reality and be free even in an unfree society. But those people have had an impact on their surrounding because they have been different and they have been emanating this, and people have witnessed that they have been different, kind of. And that's been us. We have been the Trojan horses in those societies. And being able to adjust on the outside, we have been like chameleons in such a society. So just chameleon is changing on the outside, but it is adjusting to the colors of the background. But they were able to always stay themselves, chameleon. And a small percentage of free spirits is enough to have an impact on a society. And what is very, very different at the moment is that the powers to be try to reach even into your consciousness and to hijack people even on a much deeper level. And well, the reason for bringing technology to make life so easy is total control via the mind. So what's the answer? As always, it's the heart. They can't turn us into slaves or destroy us. They need to convince us to do it to ourselves. That is our choice. It's our choice. It doesn't matter what is happening on the outside. Are we accepting this reality? And the heart is the answer, like always. The heart is so much stronger than the mind. And be wholehearted to create miracles. It's possible. So, thank you. I hope this is giving you some inspiration. And although it is eye-opening to some, well, not so pleasant truth, we need to see truth. We need to see a problem to create a solution and to change what is happening. So it's not happening to us, but we are happening. And coming from the heart, no matter what is happening on the outside, you're always able to Come back to your own center, to your true being, to connect with who you truly are. And nobody can take this from you. And don't believe the stories that someone is able to disconnect you from who you truly are. They are not. Only if you believe in it. Okay, I think I've said enough. So, yeah. All the best from heart to heart, from heart and soul. You're Natalie. Until next time. Bye.